Hello and welcome to Infinite Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. This channel is all about helping women to understand and recover from this insidious, deadly form of abuse. I'm McMahon. I'm a clinical NLP hypnotherapist, life coach and author, and I work with professional women who want to fully take back control of their lives. Now, there's a lot of talk out there about how omnipotent and powerful narcissists are. But the truth is, they're not. They just believe they are. And until you learn that truth, you might think they are too. Now, I want you to know that you can heal. You can be happy again. You can learn the power of self-love, and you can attain infinite self-worth after narcissistic abuse. The kind of self-love that will enable you to never become a victim again. Okay, so let's get started with today's video. I hope you enjoy it and find it helpful. So on today's live, I want to talk about cognitive dissonance. And you may or may not have heard of it, but most women I know who've been involved with a narcissist, once they know what they're dealing with, come to quickly learn or hear the term cognitive dissonance. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. So cognitive dissonance, the term came from an American social psychologist called Leon Festinger. And the theory is that we have this inner drive to hold all our attitudes and behaviour in harmony to avoid disharmony or dissonance. When something gets in the way of that, we get what's called cognitive inconsistency. So it's cognitive dissonance. So what happens in a narcissistic relationship is that your narcissist is behaving one way in the beginning of the relationship, and it's all wonderful, and then suddenly their behavior changes and they become cruel and hurtful, and you don't understand what the heck is going on. There are two things going on in your mind now that don't make sense to you, two completely conflicting realities that you've experienced with this same person. Now, I've experienced cognitive dissonance in my life once personally, so I know how very, very confusing and unsettling it really is. Now, it wasn't to do with a narcissist, but let me tell you the story. I was in my early 30s at the time, and I'd gone to Ireland to celebrate my uncle's 60th birthday with our very big family. Now, we were all sharing rooms with 3 or 4 beds, and assorted family members would just end up sleeping wherever they ended up. And there were 3 beds in the room that I was in. And one morning, after a very late boozy night, I woke up late with a raging hangover. Now, both the other beds I noticed had been slept in, but they were empty. And then I realised when I checked the time, it was gone 10 o'clock. Now, just then, one of my sisters came into the room and she looked a bit worried. She sat down on the bed beside me and she said, "Oh, I've got something to tell you." So I was a bit concerned and I sat up and said, "What's going on?" So she said, "Barb," I'll call her Barb, that's not my aunt's real name, but she was referring to one of my aunts who it turned out had slept in one of the beds in my room. I'd gone home before everyone else because I'd had too much to drink and I needed to sleep, so there was no one in the room when I went to bed, but she'd slept there. So she said, "Barb is missing £400 from her purse and she thinks you took it." Now, I remember feeling as if I'd been hit with a hammer. I don't think I could even speak for a good few minutes. I searched my head to make sense of this. I'd known and loved this aunt all my life. She was my mother's sister, and both our families had been very close growing up because they both had 7 children, all similar ages, so we used to spend time together all the time. So this wasn't some remote aunt that I only saw from time to time. We were always in each other's lives every week for as long as I'd lived at home. Now, I didn't know what to do or say or think. My family, and hers for that matter, were outraged that she could make such an accusation, because I'd never been known to steal anything, except for a ring when I was 6 years old. But I remember as I sat in the pub later that day with my father and my brother, and it was a different pub from where the rest of the family were with my aunt, because I just couldn't face her, I just didn't want to see her. But I remember feeling as if someone had died. The feeling of disbelief and shock was that intense. I just could not reconcile the aunt who I'd always loved and defended when other people made fun of her, because frankly she often did or said really stupid things, but I always believed she had one good trait, and that was her judge of character. So how could she possibly think that I would go into her purse in the middle of the night and steal £400 off her? I mean, the whole thing was just preposterous. It was completely and utterly incomprehensible to me, and it cast a huge black cloud over the rest of that holiday. But this was cognitive dissonance that I was feeling, that complete inability to reconcile two totally conflicting things in a way that made sense. Now, I spoke to her once that day to tell her how shocked, upset and disappointed I was that she could ever think such a thing of me. And then I didn't speak to her again until more than 10 years later, and that was on the day of my mother's funeral. So I can imagine how much more deeply it must hurt when you're in a romantic relationship and the person you love and who you thought loved you starts devaluing you and cognitive dissonance kicks in. So what can you do? What can you do when it happens to you? Now, unfortunately, unfortunately, the standard recommendations for dealing with cognitive dissonance are not very effective when you're going through the emotional turmoil of a narcissistic relationship. And that's because cognitive dissonance creates a feeling in you. And by the time it happens, you're already in that feeling. You're reeling from the shock, and there's nothing you can do to turn back the clock and change that. Now, what you can do is look back at it and understand what it was and why it happened, and understand that it was not your fault. You didn't cause it to happen. There was nothing you could have done to prevent it or done differently to make it less painful. It's unfortunately one of the many painful prices you will have had to pay if you're in a relationship with a narcissist. Now, on the upside, once you realise it's happened the first time, it's not going to be quite as galling or shocking when it happens again, because the narcissist pattern will usually become clear to you. Now, they tend to bounce around between devaluing, love bombing, devaluing, discarding, and hoovering as they continue to play havoc with your emotions. So, as I always advise, learn as much as you can about NPD. Reach out for support. And I will say it again, get the hell out of the relationship if you can, because your sanity depends on it. Now, I'll also say that if you're really struggling with this or any other aspect of healing from narcissistic abuse, then please reach out to me. I'm helping women every day to heal from narcissistic abuse. And you can heal from cognitive dissonance. You can heal from trauma bonding. You can heal all of it. Now, I'm offering a free 30 to 40 minute session to any woman in this group who wants to explore the possibility of working with me. So if you want to talk, just send me a private message and we'll set it up. We'll just have a nice little informal chat, okay? So that's my very short video today, and what I'm going to be doing going forward is doing probably more lives, but keeping them a bit shorter. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that interesting and helpful. And if so, please hit like and subscribe for more videos. I'll be posting new videos every week. Now, if you'd like to hear more tips and connect personally with me, check out the links below this video. And you can also join my closed Facebook group, Infinite Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. Now, this is a women's only group with exclusive content every week. So do check out those links below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, and thanks again for watching. I appreciate your time. Thank you.